So I've had an amazing privilege this week to sit down and talk to Dr. Neil T. Anderson, the author of the new book, Restoring Broken Relationships. And a lot of what we've done is just talk about the Word. And I think one of your favorite Bible verses, one of my favorites, is Luke 4:18. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me because He's anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He sent me to proclaim liberty to the captives, the recovering of the sight to the blind, to set at liberty those who are oppressed, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor.
Yeah, yep. That's our ministry. And it really is. I think it's where the heart of God is. But the key to that, Johnny, is the fact that when I sit down to help another person, I mean, you want to really bring about true reconciliation. You have to do that with the understanding there's three parties that are always present. And God, it's like a triangle. And every side of that triangle is a relationship. And God is at the top. And here I call myself an encourager. And here's an inquirer that's coming. You know, they want to deal with their junk and get right with God. I said, now, every side of that relationship, of that triangle, is a relationship. Now ask yourself the question, who's responsible for what? And we've bought all of our methodology on counseling from the world, and there's just a flat line, and there's no God in it. And I said, how in the world do you expect that to really happen? I said, the most important was my own relationship with God. So I clean house as regularly as I can. Very important how I relate to that person over there. But what am I actually trying to accomplish? What's our ministry? It's reconciliation. It's getting this person here back into a righteous relationship with God. Now, to accomplish that, who's responsible for what? Have you ever tried to play the role of the Holy Spirit in another person's life?
That doesn't work.
That doesn't work. How about your spouse? The children? That didn't work either. You know, and so we've left God out of the process. That's what I'm trying to say. And, or how well does it work if that person won't decide? Well, I'll decide for them. That doesn't work either. And so we kind of carefully try to define who is responsible for what. So I'm not usurping God's role in that person's life. I don't point out people's sin in their life. God's a convictor of sin. You know, it's not my job to do that. And I don't try to assume responsibility for this person. I can't read for them or study for them, but I can help them. And so in our teaching, we try to help bring that triangle back into a correct kind of a balance, but we always do it with the understanding that God is omnipresent. He is present right now as we talk. In fact, if God disappeared, so would everything else. He's the ultimate reality. And so I live with the consciousness in my mind that when I'm sitting here talking to you, there's a third party that's here right now. And he plays a role I can't play. And if I try to play it, I'll screw it up. And so to accomplish a ministry of reconciliation can't be done without God. It has to include the presence of God. In fact, if you actually think about it, how much ministry takes place if God isn't there? And you've heard it before, I'm sure you have. Somebody said one time, if the Holy Spirit was removed from our church, 95% of our programs would go on as scheduled. Oh, dear God, I hope that's not true. Because apart from Christ, we can do nothing of lasting significance. And so we absolutely need God. We necessarily need each other. And so somehow or another, when you think about reconciliation, you've got to include God. It is a triangle. It's me, you, and that person. You leave God out, it doesn't work.
Yeah. I think that's such a powerful word for us, and I think of how often in my own life I leave God out of the equation. I'm either not aware of His presence, or I don't take into account His presence, or I try to do things on my own. I think this is a tendency that we all have, and that's why we have been discussing it, and why we've been sitting down with Dr. Anderson, learning from him, learning from the Word together, and we want to put this resource in your hands. We all have struggling relationships. We want to get those relationships reconciled and restored. It's not easy, but it can be done.